Yo, what's good everybody, and welcome back to Bear TV. We're here in a brief moment. We are going to be going over my NFL Week 6 predictions. And the cool thing about this point of the year is, well, finally, teams are starting to be identified for what they really are. Only two NFL teams remain undefeated. That is the San Francisco 49ers and my Philadelphia Eagles. And on the other side of the spectrum, you have teams like the Carolina Panthers or a few others that are winless or only have one win. I mean, what can you really say? We're 5 weeks in. There's no excuses for any of these teams anymore. So moving forward, I expect my predictions to be much better. Not that I'm doing too bad, but I'm just not satisfied. I'm just not. And I know it's easier said than done because it honestly is any given Sunday, Monday, Thursday, whatever. But now it's time to really start paying attention to some football and calling these games correctly. Last week for my picks, I finished with a record of 9-5. Currently sitting at an overall record on the season of 51-27. And with there being a few buys last week, I'm actually pretty cool with 9 wins and 5 losses. It's not spectacular, but it's definitely not a bad week. Moving into week 6, we have, I think, 2 teams that are on a bye. I'm not really sure, but regardless, we got to do better than 9 wins, and I'm sure that I will. But anyways, before we get into this video, per usual, this video is presented by Chesco Sports, your one-stop shop for sports betting content. Make sure you guys head over there, give them a like, subscribe to their channel. The information is in the description below. And of course, make sure if you haven't already, like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Help your boy out. And with all that being said, let's go ahead and get to my week 6 predictions.
Okay. I gotta build a better version of myself, and that's on baby. Confident to say I'm pretty as my lady, but your shorty says she want me cause my jawline is amazing. Cheating is bad, throw out the flag. Trying to chase the flag to carry me and all my people straight to Vegas. Build a crib as big as many football stadiums, and you best believe I'm repping for the city that I came from. Speaking of facts, throw out the flag.
All right, kicking off Thursday night football, we got the Denver Broncos taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Last week, week 5, it started off with 3 upsets back to back. And this week, I can kind of see the same thing happening. Denver is a bad team. The Chiefs are a great team. The Chiefs are favored by a lot of points. What could possibly go wrong here? Well, a lot if you're a sports bettor, because Vegas just loves taking our money and busting our parlays early. So I got to go with the Broncos to win this one. I am totally joking. The Chiefs are going to win this one 33-10, if not worse than that. Like what? You guys thought I was going to dive deep into this game? Like, what's the point, honestly? The Chiefs are better everywhere by far. All right, moving on to the London game. We got the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Tennessee Titans. Titans coming off a division loss against the Indianapolis Colts last week. The Titans just aren't a good football team right now. We all know that. Derrick Henry continues to struggle. I'm not sure really what's going on with Derrick Henry right now. I don't think that he's washed up yet, but I mean, he only had 13 carries last week. And I mean, if you're the Tennessee Titans, you're just not going to win without the presence of Derrick Henry. D-Hop is great and he had a great game, but that's not going to be enough to win in today's league. As for the Ravens, coming off a demoralizing loss against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that wasn't all telling because the Ravens had like a million drop passes. Their stat line should look a lot better than what it was. If you take away those drop passes, that game is most likely a blowout, and that says a lot because Pittsburgh's defense isn't that bad. I mean, more specifically TJ Watt in that defensive line, but still, they get to the quarterback and they cause a lot of problems. That's honestly the only reason why the Steelers are winning games, because their offense is very stale. I was telling my friend who's a Ravens fan at the conclusion of that game that the Ravens are going to be fine, and I'm going to put my best dollar on them to destroy the Titans next week, and I promise that. And I'm not going to disclose that amount, but I'm definitely going to put my money on the Ravens for sure. The Ravens are a good team. They should be pretty pissed off after last week, and I expect them to come out and be very aggressive. And Lamar Jackson owners expect a masterclass from him this week. Going with Ravens to win 27-14 over the Titans. All right, moving on to the noon games. You got the Washington Commanders taking on the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta coming off of what I'm surprised that was a win against the Houston Texans. Do you know how hard it was for me to pick the Texans to win that game? I mean, no, like seriously, like I've been like doing these videos for about 3 years now, and like I have not called the Texans to probably win 9 games out of the last 3 years. But this last week I was like, Texans all day. I believe in the Texans. And they should have won that game. The Atlanta Falcons won by the hairs of their chinny chin chin. And I have to admit, Desmond Ridder definitely did not look bad. But you see what happens when you get Kyle Pitts involved? Get Kyle Pitts involved and that offense can do things like that, like win games down the stretch. So I'll tip my hat to the Falcons. I'm sorry. And as for the Commanders, coming off a very, I won't say disappointing loss because they're not great. They never were, but they lost to the Bears. That just can't happen if you're a solid team. I don't care how well Justin Fields and DJ Moore were playing. You cannot lose to Chicago, especially at home. But they did, and I don't think that's all telling because I think the Commanders are a lot better than what they displayed against Chicago. But now they're on the road going against a 3-2 Atlanta Falcons team who have not lost at home yet. Now when I look at this game, I still do think that the Washington Commanders have the better team. They have a solid backfield. Like, no, not one one of those running backs are even remotely close to Bijan Robinson, but collectively, they're good. You got Terry McLaurin and Dotson at the wide receiver position. That's a good tandem. And you got Sam Howell, who kind of gives me Baker Mayfield vibes. Like, he totally is a gamer. I'm not saying he's a good quarterback, but he's definitely a tryhard. And I expect a huge bounce back game by him and the Commanders. I expect Chase Young and that defense to be all up in Desmond Ridder's grill, and I expect the Atlanta Falcons to do what they always do and completely forget that they have guys like Kyle Pitts and Drake London. Big upset coming, but going with the Commanders to win over the Falcons 20-16. Alrighty, here we go. Next game, we got the Minnesota Vikings taking on the Chicago Bears. I mean, if you watched the Bears last week, it's clear that they are the best team in the NFL. I mean, why would I ever put a significant amount of my life savings on the Bears last week to lose? I mean, only an idiot would do that, right? I mean, like, seriously, think about it. I mean, honestly, why on earth would I pick Chicago to lose on the road against the Commanders last week? Well, I did, and just know that my bank account is hurting from that stupid decision. The Bears are Super Bowl contenders. The Bears are the best team I've ever seen in my life. I have never seen a better quarterback than Justin Fields. DJ Moore makes Randy Moss look like Sterling Shepard. I mean, the Bears are back. I mean, all my boys are telling me. I live in the Midwest, so I mean, everybody around here is Bears, Packers, Vikings, all that good shit. The Bears clearly are just the best team I've ever seen in my life. And the Vikings are... yeah, they're dog shit. Justin Jefferson is dealing with a hamstring injury. If I'm the Vikings and I want that guy to stick around, just sit him. Just sit him. Hamstring injuries suck, and if Justin Jefferson has to sit out 1 to 2 weeks to come back 100% healthy, just do it. You're playing the Bears. Without him, you still have TJ Hawkinson and Jordan Addison. The Bears are a team that can be ran on, they can be thrown against, they can be scored on. The Bears are a team that are just not going to shut down any offense in the league, so you don't need your best playmaker out there to win this game. But I do expect the Bears to stay on the gas pedal and come out very aggressive at home. But guess what? All Brian Flores needs to do is quadruple cover DJ Moore, and they should win this game. It's that simple. And I think that they know that. So, Minnesota, don't embarrass yourselves, because if you do, you might be due for some pretty harsh lashing. But I think the Vikings prevail. Going with Minnesota to win because they are the better team. I'm sorry, Bears fans, but I'm just telling the truth. 24-20 over Chicago. All right, moving on to the next game. We have a great matchup. We got the Seattle Seahawks taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals finally showing life again. Huge game for Joe Burrow last week and Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase simply just went off. Clearly his frustration that he displayed last week got to Joe Burrow, it got to the coaching staff, and they just said, hey, give him the ball. And it worked. And luckily for Joe Burrow, that's his 3rd week back, I believe, and his calf injury is only going to keep getting better and better as long as he doesn't re-injure it. So for all of you Joe Burrow haters out there, I hate to break it to you, but he is back. As for the Seattle Seahawks, coming off a bye week, but the week before that, they annihilated the New York Giants, which isn't saying much, but their defense was going crazy. I mean, they truly are the miniature version of the Legion of Boom. So, I mean, what's going to happen in Cincinnati? Well, since he is 2.5-point favors, and I'm not going to lie to you, I really do like Seattle to win this game, but I know how the narrative's going to go. Joe Burrow makes his return. Joe Burrow gets the Cincinnati Bengals back to 500. And it's going to start with this game right here. The Seattle Seahawks should win this game, and if I were you, I would definitely take them to cover that 2.5-point spread. But I think this is where the Joe Burrow narrative starts, and it's going to continue on throughout the midpoint of the season. Going with Cincinnati to win at home, 28-27 over Seattle. But I'm saying it again, I think Seattle is the better team, so take them to cover the spread. All right, moving on to the next matchup, we got the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Cleveland Browns. And go ahead and buckle up for a very defensive dominant game. The Cleveland Browns defense is real. Pass D is real. The rush D is real. I mean, honestly, this is the best defense that the San Francisco 49ers has seen this year. Yeah, I understand that the Dallas Cowboys do have a great defense, and last week, I don't really think it's all telling. I think the Cowboys played very bad, and the 49ers just capitalized and played very well at home. But this is a different story, though, because the Cleveland Browns, they're at home. They're coming off of a bye week, so they're very well rested, and that defense is legitimately real. Like, they have the best defense in the league right now, like, statistically. And the Niners have a great defense as well. Cleveland struggles on offense. The Niners don't. The Niners are far more poised. The Niners have a very high-powered offense with Christian McCaffrey in that backfield. Now, I do not think that the Niners are going to go to Cleveland and just run and throw all over them. I think it's going to be a very low-scoring game, like I said. But the Cleveland Browns are going to make more mistakes down the stretch than the San Francisco 49ers. I could foresee Cleveland being a little cute with the play calling here and there. There's going to be some coaching errors. Deshaun Watson's probably going to make some mistakes. And the San Francisco 49ers are going to win this game because of those reasons. Going with the Niners to win 17-9 over Cleveland. This game's going to be all about poise and staying to what has worked for you so far this season, and the Niners are going to stick to the script. All right, moving on to the next matchup. We got the New Orleans Saints taking on the Houston Texans. Saints just blew out the New England Patriots last week. Legitimately, it was 34-0. And if you watch that game, I mean, it's not like the Saints looked like some sort of juggernaut. The Patriots just are extremely bad right now, and they have nothing going for them on offense. And now without Christian Gonzalez and Matthew Judon, defense. And like I mentioned earlier, the Texans coming off a loss against the Falcons, just a heartbreaker. The Texans aren't a bad team. They're not great, but they're not a bad team. And if you're not by now, you should be a CJ Stroud believer. He is the real deal. Now, Tank Dell did suffer a concussion last week. We are still waiting to see if he passes that concussion protocol. But if the Texans want to win this game, they're going to need to bring their A game, and they're going to need their guys to be healthy. On top of that, I mentioned last week that it was going to be the Dameon Pierce game, and I was wrong. So I'm going to say it once again, because it has to happen. This game at home will be the Dameon Pierce game. I mean, the dude's just been non-existent. I still don't believe he's a bad running back, but they need to figure out a way to get him involved in that offense. CJ Stroud, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, they're doing their part. You need to get your run game going. That's like the only issue that the Texans have. I mean, if you get that run game going with the way that CJ Stroud is playing, you guys might be in contention for that division. Like, seriously, it's not too far out of reach if you think about it. But the Saints have a solid defense, and they're looking to take their division. So expect the Saints to show up and put up a really good fight against the Texans, but for the second week in a row, I'm going to pick the Texans to win, simply because I do think they're a good team, but I just want to pick the Texans to win a game for like the first time in 3 years. So going with the Texans to win, 26-20 over New Orleans. All right, time for the next matchup. We got a division game. We got the Indianapolis Colts taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars coming off a massive win in London against the Buffalo Bills. I wouldn't say the Jacksonville Jaguars looked great that game, but they won. And they beat what looked like an unstoppable Bills team. As for the Colts, going to be without Anthony Richardson for a little while. He has a grade 3 AC sprain in his shoulder, which means that shit's torn from the ligaments. He should be fine when it's all said and done, but he's going to miss some time. So do I believe that Gardner Minshew can win a division game on the road? Well, absolutely, because, I mean, they beat the Ravens earlier this season, and I think that the Ravens are better than the Jaguars, believe it or not. And Jacksonville, they're just an inconsistent team at home. But I'm going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars to win, because that is just the smart decision to make. Going with the Jacksonville Jaguars to win, because they should, 21-13 over the Colts. All right, on to the next game. We got the Carolina Panthers taking on the Miami Dolphins. This might be the first time in my life that I witnessed a team forfeit, because that's just what needs to happen. So Carolina, go ahead and start waving the white flag. Dolphins win 30-0 over Carolina. All right, moving on to the afternoon games. We got the New England Patriots taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. Wow. Yeah, this is one of those games that just feels like a trap. It just does. New England, like I mentioned earlier, just coming off of an embarrassing blowout, and it's not all their fault. They're hurt. Mac Jones isn't playing well. I mean, it is what it is. New England wasn't expected to be great this year, and they're showing that. As for the Raiders, coming off a big Monday Night Football win against the Green Bay Packers, they look like shit too. Now, they didn't even really use Devonta Adams, which is a big deal to me and a lot of fantasy owners, but they didn't need to because they have Jacoby Myers, who apparently is God. I don't foresee Devonta Adams having another stale game ever again for the rest of the season, so expect a huge game from him. But for some weird reason, the Raiders are probably going to struggle to score. And the Patriots on the road will, for no reason at all that makes any sense, play very well. Something in my gut tells me that the Patriots are going to pull off this upset, but they look so bad, I just cannot take them this week. I can't. Going with the Raiders to win, 21-7 over New England. All right, on to the next matchup. We got the Detroit Lions taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Buccaneers, 2 weeks ago, beat down the New Orleans Saints, and now they're coming off of a bye week. They are very well rested. They are at home. Expect the Buccaneers to come out and try to put it to the Lions. As for Detroit, looking like a force to be reckoned with. They are definitely one of the juggernauts out of the NFC this year. Aiden Hutchinson looking like he's in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. That Lions offense and David Montgomery unstoppable on the ground. So what's going to happen? Well, you guys need to understand something. The Buccaneers sneakily have a very good defense. Like, seriously, their rush D and their pass D is not bad at all. They're pretty damn good. And, I mean, strangely enough, we have to give credit where credit's due. Baker Mayfield has not played bad all season long. They have a good 1-2 punch that is Mike Evans and Chris Godwin at the wide receiver position. This game honestly could go either way, and I'm surprised that the Detroit Lions are 3.5-point favors on the road. Like, I get being favored, but I don't know about 3.5 points. Like, the Buccaneers are far from a bad team right now. And if I'm the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I am game planning around the fact that Dan Campbell only cares about giving David Montgomery the ball. Like, I mean, it's apparent. They're not going to use Jahmyr Gibbs. And they're going to run the ball and run the ball and run the ball. And when they need to, rely on Amon-Ra St. Brown and that receiving core to bail them out. That has worked for the Lions so far. But there's going to come a point in time where it doesn't. And what do? Well, what stinks about having a one-dimensional offense is if you don't make changes early on when something's not working, you end up playing from behind. And I think that's going to happen to the Detroit Lions. They're going to continue to play super conservative and run that ball and run that ball and run that ball and wait for something to open, and it might be too late. They're on the road. The Buccaneers are going to be well rested and well prepared for this game, and I have the Buccaneers pulling off this upset. Going with the Bucs to win at home, 23-20 over the Lions. All right, on to the next matchup. We got the Arizona Cardinals taking on the LA Rams. Not really much to say about the Cardinals right now. I mean, it looks like James Conner is going to miss a few weeks. I didn't spend too much time doing any research on his injury because it just sounds like he's going to miss a few weeks and nothing serious. But all in all, the Arizona Cardinals is looking like what I've said in recent weeks, looking to tank. And the Rams are still fighting. They win this game. They are 3-3. Last week, they played a very fair game against the Philadelphia Eagles. And even though they lost, we saw the emergence of Cooper Kupp. He is back. He looks good. Puka Nacua is a problem. He is real. Matthew Stafford is still a very good quarterback. The Rams at home should win this game because they have the offense to do so, and the Arizona Cardinals simply do not. Like, honestly, that's it. The Cardinals just won't be able to score as much points as the Rams, and even if the Rams defense doesn't play well, the Cardinals do not have the firepower on offense. So, most likely with no James Conner, I'm going with the LA Rams to win big time. 28-10 over the Cardinals. All right, now moving on to the next game, we got my Philadelphia Eagles taking on the New York Jets. Jets coming off a solid win against the Denver Broncos, and I called that last week. Their defense is solid, and their offense isn't as bad as they've looked in previous weeks. The Jets are definitely not a good team, we know that, but they at times show some promise. As for the Eagles, continuing to look better week in, week out, which is what we want. The offense continues to thrive and the defense plays better as these games go on. I mean, the Eagles are just a problem. And yet again, we are still not playing our best football. Philadelphia Eagles are 5-0, and like I mentioned before, this is a time of the year where teams are identified. We know who they are. And the Philadelphia Eagles are just a team that knows how to win. And even without us playing great, we are still putting teams away quite comfortably. But this week, I know it. We will finally play a complete game. Like 100% a complete game. I'm talking play calling perfect. All our playmakers getting the ball. Run game dominant. Defense all over Zach Wilson. This game should and will be a blowout. Going with the Philadelphia Eagles to win big time. 30-7 over the Jets. Go Birds. All right, now moving on to Sunday Night Football. We got the New York Giants on primetime yet again, taking on the Buffalo Bills. As if this game wasn't going to be a blowout already, Daniel Jones apparently suffered a neck injury and he might miss some time. That is not confirmed, but the reports show that in recent years he has had a neck injury, and that's just something you want to monitor carefully, especially if you plan on, which they should, keeping him healthy so there is some value with Daniel Jones when it comes to the point where you trade him, because you got to trade the guy. He sucks. So we can expect Tyrod Taylor to most likely play this game. And not that he is the worst quarterback I've ever seen, but he is a terrible quarterback. And he's going to be playing against the Buffalo Bills, who's coming off a big loss against the Jacksonville Jaguars. They are at home. They are the much better team. They are pissed. Going with the Buffalo Bills to win big time, 31-10 over the Giants. Put all your money on the Bills to cover the spread. I promise. And finally, Monday Night Football, we got the Dallas Cowboys taking on the LA Chargers. Cowboys coming off of a beatdown against the San Francisco 49ers. And I know that 99.9% of the viewers watching right now loved witnessing that. Now, I don't think the Cowboys are a terrible team, but they are definitely somewhat fraudulent. Their defense was exposed. Their offense continues to not look good at all. I mean, they're going to whoop up on bad teams, and at times, they're going to lose to very good teams. And when they lose, it's going to look like that. I'm not really sure which Chargers team we're going to get because Eckler should be making his return, but it's not set in stone yet. If the Chargers want to win, they need Eckler. Also, if the Chargers want to win, they need to understand that Dallas is going to send constant pressure. So what do? Get the ball out of Justin Herbert's hands as fast as possible. And how do you do that? Keenan Allen, Keenan Allen. Do not get cute. There's a very simple recipe to beating this Dallas Cowboys team. You guys have the firepower on offense. You can outscore the Dallas Cowboys offense. And trust me, the Dallas Cowboys, I mean, they're going to be looking to make a big impact coming off of that big loss against the Niners. Like, this is a huge bounce back game for the Cowboys, which is why they're favored by 2 points on the road. Now, the Chargers are notorious for choking in big games that they need to win, and this is a must win for the Chargers if you were to ask me. This would give that team so much confidence and put them in a great position moving forward because they have a long road ahead of them. LA, you're at home. All right, you are at home. You guys can beat this Cowboys team. I want you to beat this Cowboys team, and I think that you can and you will. Going with LA to win over the Cowboys because they have the much better offense. They're coming off a bye week. They have the better quarterback. I believe Eckler is going to play, and Keenan Allen is going to continue to look unstoppable. So yeah, I'm going with the LA Chargers to pull off this upset against the Cowboys. Going with the Chargers to win 30-20 over Dallas. And there you have it, folks. My week 6 predictions are officially in, and per usual, I want to give you guys my 3-leg lock, which is a 3-leg parlay that I feel will be a for sure hit by the end of this week's games. I'm taking the Kansas City Chiefs to cover a 10.5 point spread, the Baltimore Ravens money line, and the Philadelphia Eagles to cover a 6.5 point spread. Get that bet locked in, and hopefully you and I can make some money when it's all said and done. And if you guys want to check out my best bets for the week, where I dive in a little bit deeper when it comes to my decisions, make sure you check out my betting guide. The link is in the description below. And so that's all I got for today's video. And if you haven't already, please make sure you give it a like, leave a comment, let me know what you think of my picks, give it a quick share, and last but not least, subscribe to the channel. Good luck to your teams this week, fantasy football and in real life. And until the next video, as always, go Birds.